The reason your life looks nothing like the dream God showed you is because you were busy running away from the pit that was supposed to prepare you for the palace. I'm currently going through one of the most challenging seasons of my life mentally, after I decided to surrender to God fully. And now God is pruning my branches, using a tough season to cause the growth of better fruits. So today I want to speak about times and seasons, because we all face them. No matter where you are, you might be facing a difficult time and season, or you might be facing a season of waiting. God is telling you to wait, or you might be facing a season and a time of blessing. Let's look at the story of Joseph in Genesis, ranging from chapter 37 to chapter 50. Just for a small little bit of background of Joseph, is he was 17 when he got his two dreams. He got two dreams of his family bowing down to him. Joseph was seen as a shepherd alongside all of his brothers, but he was often only used as the messenger because of his young age. So I got a little bit of revelation from that, is God can use us as messengers even if we're young. Doesn't matter if you're 17, 20, 30, doesn't matter. God can use you. So after Joseph had the two dreams where his family bowed down to him, he actually told his family this. And his family got angry, especially his brothers. They got jealous. So Joseph was always very dearly loved by his father. So the father gave Joseph a cloak, and he didn't give any one of his brothers a cloak. So Joseph was set out to send a message to his brothers, and his brothers plotted to kill him, but instead opted to not kill their own blood, but throw Joseph into a cistern. Genesis 37, verse 23 to 24 states that Joseph was thrown into a dry cistern. So you're probably wondering, George, what is a cistern? And why is it important that it was dry? So this is what a cistern looks like. So the physical meaning of a cistern is a man-made rock-hewn underground reservoir used to collect and store rainwater. And the symbolism behind it is dry cisterns had deep, slick sides and no way out, making them highly effective, inescapable prisons. This shows us that we sometimes find ourselves in a dry cistern, an inescapable prison. With dry walls, there's no way of getting out. And all we need is some divine intervention from God to escape that cistern. So today I'm asking you, what is your cistern? Is it poverty? Is it mental health? Is it addiction? God can help you through that. So you can go read chapter 37 to 50 if you want to read the whole entire story of Joseph. But here I have a graph of Joseph's life, where he had ups and downs and times and seasons that he had to hold on to God to endure. So this is how it goes. Joseph was thrown into a cistern and sold by his brothers. Then he went to Potiphar's house, where he was placed over all he owned. Then he was falsely accused and put in prison. Then he got favor in prison, given charge of inmates. Then he fell again. He was forgotten 2 more years by the baker. And then he rose up to second in command in Egypt, and he was ruling over all of Egypt. So Joseph had all these times and seasons in his life where things were going good and according to plan, while trusting the promise of God, which was his dreams. Not once in this whole story did Joseph deserve any of these punishments, but God had to take him through tough times and seasons so that he can build a godly character to be able to one day rule over all of Egypt. So Joseph went from 17 as a messenger shepherd boy to ruler of all of Egypt in 13 years, from 17 to 30. But that's not the best part, is Joseph saw this, that God was with him and God favored him, but he had to wait another 9 years before his dreams at 17 needed to be fulfilled. If I was Joseph that went from 17 as a shepherd messenger boy to second in command over all of Egypt, I would have thought I've made it. But he had to endure another 9 years before that whole promise that God had shown him could be fulfilled. Another 9 years. So in total, it was 22 years that it took for God to fulfill his promise from the age of 17 to 39. We as young believers have our own dreams and calling. Whether God has shown that to you or not, we must keep on holding onto the promise that God has a good future for us. Even though we fall, like Joseph did multiple times, and we go through tough trials and tribulations, tough times and seasons, God is using that in our lives for good, to build godly character, to be able to go from where we were with the character we had to now building character to be there where God wants us to be. Without that godly character, we cannot be where God wants us to be. Romans 5 verse 3-4 NLT says, "We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation." My pastor always says, in every disappointment there's an appointment, and the story of Joseph clearly depicts that. God was with Joseph in the pit, in the prison, in his time of waiting for 2 years, just as he is with you, shaping you, molding the godly character inside of you, because we need to build godly character to be where God wants us. And I want to tell you today, this is not the end of the road. This is not the end of your story. If you're going through a tough times or a time of waiting, even if you're going through a time of blessing, this is not the end of the road. Keep holding on to God and His promise, His good promise for your good future in your life. God is working in you to become who you are destined to be.